Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and we actually have two guests today, two guests who have written a new book that every single one of you guys should go buy if you're thinking about writing a book of your own. But before we get started, I want to remind you to go over and get your free subscription to Breakthrough Author Magazine. You can find it at www.breakthroughauthormagazine.com. Now, if you signed up in the last year and you didn't get your copies, please go over and do it again. We just found that we had a major glitch in our landing pages and the connection to our list. And it's been fixed now. But if for some reason you didn't get your free copies, please go over and sign up, www.breakthroughauthormagazine.com. And this will be really helpful if you are putting out a book in the next year, because we're really going to talk in 2024 about ditching the middleman strategies to bypass the book distributor fees, which are huge now, and really cut down on the profit that authors are making on their books. So let's get to today's guests. We have two people here today. The first is Bridgett McGowen-Hawkins, and she is an award-winning international professional speaker, author, and publisher, and the owner of Press 49. She's been a guest in the past. You guys have probably seen her. The guest who wrote the book with her is Allie B. Allie Berthiaume. It's kind of like perfume. I can never say her name right. And Alyssa is the founder of Right Place, Right Time, her virtual boutique of book coaching and ghostwriting services. As a writing guide or ghost, her services serve leaders, entrepreneurs, visionaries across North America and Europe who know they have the power to activate healing, their own and that of their readers, by sharing their stories and spreading the message. She supports her clients in writing the book that will light up the world and ours. Allie is also the author of Dear Universe, I Get It Now, Letters on the Art and Journey of Being Brave and Being Me. So, in anticipation of this, hold on for our interview with Allie and Bridgett. Welcome, Allie and Bridgett. It's great to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
It's fantastic to be here, Juliette.
So I usually don't interview two people at once, so you guys can gang up on me. So I'm excited about your new book. I was one of the people who reviewed it. Very much needed for people to read. So you guys, the reason I'm having them on today, and I realize in some sense, they are competitors, is you have to read this book before you start writing a book, because some of you have no business writing a book. So all the people just jumped off. Thank you. Nobody's going to listen to this now. And I mean that in the sense of you're writing the books for the wrong reasons, and maybe to the wrong audience, and maybe for yourself instead of the readers. So one of you, tell us a little bit about the book and why you guys decided to collaborate on it.
Oh, I love this question and I love this story. Bridgett, do you want to tell the story, or shall I tell it and you jump in on me?
Right. We'll go back and forth. You start and then I'll fill in the chinks.
Okay. All right. So I do a live show on a monthly basis called Open Book Broadcast. And I had Bridgett come on as a guest expert, as a publisher. And we did our thing, we recorded, and then after the StreamYard was all done, we were still sitting in the studio, we were debriefing, and we got into this just kind of candid conversation about the things we wish that authors knew before they did a damn thing. And it turned out that we kind of, we really synced up and agreed on kind of three main principles. And in the middle of that conversation, one of us, and this is really funny, neither of us can remember which one of us said this next part, which we discovered when we were writing the book. But one of us said, hey, there's a book here. Like, there is an entire book based on these three principles, which we called the trifecta at the time. And we should write a book about it. And those three main things were really, one, treating your book like a business and having a strategy and business hat on. Two, writing a damn good book and what that actually means. And no, it doesn't mean winging it. And three, recognizing how to actually make money off of your book before you get going. So really having a strategy around promotion and marketing kind of front and center at the very outset. And just recognizing that there's so much misinformation or misperception around those three things that we were like, there's got to be a whole book here. But I'm going to let Bridgett jump in here about how quick and how fast and how short we thought it was going to be.
Ah, yes, you will leave the dirt and grit and grind parts to me, of course. So we, Juliet, let me tell you, we initially said, hey, let's not make this super complicated. Let's not make this long, boring read or whatever. And it's not long and boring. Let me be very clear. It's long. Initially, we said it was going to be about 25,000 words. We wanted it to be something that was easy, that people could glance at the table of contents, pick out a few topics that really spoke to them, and get the information they needed and be on their way. And so Allie did this beautiful job, being the ghostwriter and the writing coach that she is, this beautiful job of laying out the outline and identifying exactly what we were going to cover in each part, and assigning to each one of us, based on our areas of expertise, which parts we would each write. And we had a wonderful time just sitting down, writing, hitting our time points and everything, hitting our deadlines. And as we're writing, both of us ever so often would say, I'm writing my part, but I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't include X. Yeah, I got to agree with you. And then another one would come back and say, you know what? I'm writing this and, we really need a chapter on X. Yeah, I think so. So the next thing we know, we're beyond 25,000 words. And I say, Allie, we're like at 32,000 words. We said 25,000. I mean, what do? Do we just kind of keep at it? Yeah, let's just keep at it. It grows to 40, 50, 60. The book is over 97,000 words.
Wow.
And that was not the original plan. But here's the thing. I want listeners to know it's not fluff. It wasn't us just adding stuff because we wanted to. We initially wanted this to be lean. We wanted this to be a guide that just cut to the chase. No fluff, not a lot of unnecessary stuff, because who has time for that? But as we were writing the book, it occurred to us there were a lot of things that we just assumed, that we just knew, that we just did automatically. And we thought, wait a minute. What if readers don't just automatically know this? What if readers don't automatically understand that you shouldn't take the free ISBN? I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. And I'm not going to tell you why on this podcast. You need to buy the book to find out why. And do they understand the differences among the types of editors? You can't just throw out there, I need an editor. An editor for what? You want somebody looking for grammar and punctuation problems and errors and fixing those? Or you wanting somebody to look at the flow of your manuscript and the development of your manuscript and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of things where we just made assumptions about, and we knew we could just maybe highlight it. But then as we thought a little bit more about it, we needed to dive more deeply to make sure no matter who picked up this book, they understood exactly what we were saying and they could apply what we were writing.
Yeah, that is so true. So I don't know if you guys probably don't know this, but back in 2016, I had a coach who came in supposed to be reformatting my business. And all I kept hearing from her is, your copy has to say this is easy. People won't do it unless it's easy. And I kept feeling like I was failing. And finally, I got to the point where I fired her and I went back to my copywriter and I said, this is hard. People need to know it's hard. And there is a process. And that's what I loved about when I was reading through to review your book. You guys did the same thing I did. Did I have as many clients after that? I had more clients. When I actually said this was work and this is hard, I actually had more clients with expectations that it was going to be hard. And you guys are going to get a good laugh out of this. I just had a review of my services for traffic school, and the woman used the word relentless. She said she was relentless in assignments. She was relentless, but that's what you needed to be. And that's what I loved about your book is it's not fluff. It's not, this is going to be easy. It's hard. It's work. Let's do it. So let's start with the beginning here. What are the things people need to know before they even write a word of that book?
Well, so we kick off the book with basically mindset and intention. So we talk about in the book something that we call ABCD, and that's approach your book with the commitment to doing it right. And we went back and forth. Do we say well or right? Well or right, right? Because there's definitely differences between doing a book well and doing it right. And we landed on right.
Mhm.
Right, as in you should definitely go through X, Y, and Z steps in order to make sure that you can stand behind your book, you're confident in your book, you're putting the best possible thing out there into the world. And so we start off by really talking about you need to have commitment. You're not going to cut corners. You're not going to try to find hacks and shortcuts. You're not going to, go cheap on your editing, right? Like you need to be committed from the get-go and recognize this is a marathon, not a sprint, that you have to invest before you're going to earn money back, those types of things. And right next to that commitment is this idea of your book being your business. And so something that we talk about that Bridgett and I truly feel is different than what some of the other books out there on writing and publishing say is that we want you to be the CEO of your book. We want you to think of your book as a business. For every department that you can think of that's in a business, it transfers exactly over to a book, right? So your business is going to have some administrative tasks. You're going to have some administrative tasks in managing your book. Your business has a financial plan. Your book better have one, a budget, and understanding how you're going to make that money back, right? So we could go tit for tat in terms of anything that you would need as a CEO of a business. You need to be thinking about as an author to bring that book into the world and make the most of it. So we spend a lot of time in that upfront part, really getting people to think about their book differently. It's not about writing. It's really about your mindset, how you're thinking about this, how you're going into the energy and effort of writing a book. And I really feel like that's where people are getting it wrong because they are winging the entire process and they're not thinking about the long game and they're not thinking about anything more than the final product. And they don't even realize that that final product is going to be worthless if they haven't considered what they want to do with it in the beginning. And they haven't considered the fact that after you have it, you ain't done with it. Bridgett, you want to jump in?
There can be a lot of unrealistic expectations. I've had people come to me wanting their book to pay their mortgage. And I'm not going to say that is impossible, but the thing is, you had better be ready to work. Your book, in order for it to rake in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in royalties each month, means that you're talking about it nonstop. You're posting about it. You are having the conversations, the podcast interviews. You are speaking about it. You're holding the workshops about it. Every time people turn around, you are talking about your book. I mean, think about it. Think about your favorite restaurant or your favorite clothing line or your favorite anything. In order for it to stay in business, that restaurant, that clothing line, in order for them to remain profitable, they have to remain relevant. And you're going to see an ad in a newspaper. You're going to see a spread in a magazine. You're going to see a commercial on television. You're going to hear the ads on the radio. And it's going all the time. McDonald's has been in business for however long and has served however many burgers, but they're not going to stop talking about their burgers and their fries. No matter how unhealthy they are, they've got to keep the doors open. If you want to keep those books open that you're trying to sell, you've got to keep your mouth open and talking about it. So that mindset piece is so important. I believe Allie and I put it this way: what do you want your book to do for you? And then what are you going to do for your book so that it can do it for you? And so that's what leads into that section where we talk about how do you make money off of your book without selling a single copy. First, you've got to have the mindset of being the CEO of your book. You've got to first have that mindset. And then just like a restaurateur will take one ingredient and have a breakfast item, a lunch item, and a dinner item. The same thing goes for your book. Your book is not just a book, but it's going to lead to the speaking engagements, the masterminds, the products, the services, the merchandise that come from you now being this published author. I'll tell people in a minute, I don't make money off of selling one of my books for $20 or $30. I mean, it's lovely if I happen to, sell one or somebody sees one that I have on me and they want to buy it from me. Yeah, that's nice. But it's what happens when people read the book. I need to get her on my stage. They read the book. Ooh, we need to have her come in and coach some of our team on presentation skills. Or I present at a conference and ooh, there's a book signing. And now they're taking the book back to their boss. And we've got to get Bridgett in to do a training. That's what my book does for me. Not the $30 price tag on it, but everything that comes from me now being a published author. And that's what's so important for people to understand as they're writing their books. What do you want it to do for you? And how can you shift your mind into this is a business, babes?
Yeah. And I will tell you, a lot of the people who come to us to publish, they don't have their business set up in a way that facilitates this, which is one reason their business is failing and they think they need that book, is they haven't really compartmentalized. We get people who don't have an LLC set up, they don't have a separate bank account, they don't have content produced, they don't, all those little things that make up their business, they don't have in place, and they think the book is the avenue that's going to get it done for them, but they need that set up to build the audience and then to write the book. So there's those are the types of people who shouldn't be writing a book. Get your business in order the way it needs to be, or get it set up first.
Well, I'm going to stop you on that one, Juliet. I don't want people to feel like they've got to get everything in place before they put pen to paper, because sometimes that can feel overwhelming and daunting. So I don't want people to feel like they've got to have everything in place first. The first thing I want them to have in place is the mindset. And you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can write your book and set up your LLC. You can write your book and go set up your bank account. I just don't want you to write the book and then think all of this is going to come together. But you can do them simultaneously. Allie and I happen to, yes, have our LLCs, and I have an S Corp set up already, and we had our bank account set up. And it just happened that way, that we had already done all of that. But I was a professional speaker before I became a publisher and an author. So yes, I had that stuff set up. I don't want to overwhelm people, having them think, oh, I've got to get all this stuff in place for. No, but I want you to know it needs to get done. And it can't get done all at the same time. And by the way, I think we've mentioned the name of the book, have we?
We haven't.
Yes. Do not write a book until you read this one. Real talk.
Yeah. Well, I think the point I was trying to make, Bridgett, is if you're not set up to be a business already, in the sense of you're creating content, you're building that audience, then who are you writing the book for? Because there's so much going on out there. There's so much noise. There's so much on how many new books are going on Amazon and being published every month. You've got to have that way to stand out. So I think that was more where I was going with, have that list that you're going to sell it to, have that content out there, have that social media, because you're going to need it all to promote on there.
Oh, yes. And Allie talks about, if I'm not mistaken, Allie, that building these followers, this community, and finding them. Actually, first off, let's find who needs the content that you're creating, because you might find you're creating some crap that nobody wants.
Yeah. Well, and actually, to Juliet's point, this is where having content creation already happening is going to be more helpful and more beneficial to writing a book after the fact rather than simultaneously, because your content as a business owner allows you to kind of test the waters, test your readers, test your audience. And the sales calls that you're having as an entrepreneur or business owner with your ideal client, those conversations turn into, well, what's something I could solve within my book, right? If you're not having those conversations because you don't have this, that, or the other thing set up, your offers are a little bit murky, your website's there's nothing on the website that says what you do and how you help people, then I think connecting the dots is going to be harder. Does it mean that they have to wait? No, not necessarily. But I do think that in terms of having the right strategy or the right understanding of what you put into your book is going to be more difficult, because if you want your book to work for your business, but your business has got wicked holes in it, you're probably going to end up with a book with wicked holes in it, right? And so the book's not going to be the magic wand any more than the business is going to be the magic wand for the book. I think really the thing that's here that hits on both is the mindset piece. You need your intention as that CEO business person to say, okay, I'm not going to just give this thing lip service. I'm going to go and set up that freaking entity. I'm going to get my website done. I'm going to create my offers, right? Same thing on the book side. Like, I'm not just going to talk about having a book. I'm going to write an outline. I'm going to map out where I'm going with this thing. I'm going to talk about what problem am I trying to solve for my readers. But having those answers on either side means you have to be intended and committed to dial it in, figure out what you're doing and what you're about, who you're trying to reach, right? And what you want your business to do for you and for them, and also what you want your book to do for you and for them. It's exactly the same equation on either side. It's just different thing that you're creating, business or book.
And a lot of it.
Well, I was going to say, Allie, I think we talk about this in the book, and this is almost a direct quote. As an author, if you don't start talking about your book and building your community and getting people used to the idea of you being this thought leader and this industry expert, if you don't start doing that right away, talking about your book, you're going to have more questions than you have book sales when you do finally finish it up. I mean, people are going to wonder what the heck she's doing, what she wrote, what, by what, where, at Amazon, who? So the sooner you start getting into that mindset, building that community, working on making sure people understand what's coming and why it's coming and what problems it solves, the sooner you do that, the better.
That is so true. And listening to that community. So I think one of the big mistakes that experts make when they write their books is they use expert words. If you're already involved in that community, then you're listening to the words that those potential clients are using to solve the problem, which more than likely are not the same words that you're using. I call that reflective marketing. Like, you really have to have your listening skills on to understand that while I may call it sales, you call it something else. And so we're not connecting. So getting that language right is really important too.
And we even address that in a couple of different ways in the book. So one way, and I'm kind of going down two different lanes here. One thing that Allie and I do in the book, we have a feature called What Does That Mean?
Yes.
We use jargon and some industry specific terminology because, well, I mean, we're educating you, we're getting you up to speed, but we'll also drop back and have a what does that mean call out. So we're explaining what we're talking about when we, I don't know, talk about ROI. Not that people don't know what that is, but I'm just pulling something out of my head. I can't think of any examples, great examples right now. But we do that so you don't feel lost in the sauce. Another thing that we talk about, and this is more specific to the reader, we talk about how do you use the Google search feature to find the exact language that people are using to search for the answers to the problems they have and the problems that your book solves. We go into depth talking about why is that important? How do you use that, not just with the content of your book, but also with the metadata in your book. Oh, maybe that's one that we use in the what does that mean? Metadata. Yeah, there we go. How do you use that in the metadata, which is essentially all of the information tied to identifying your book, whether it's the ISBN, the title, the subtitle. How do you use the Google search terms that people are out there using to find answers to their challenges that your book solves? How do you use that information to plug into your metadata to make your book more searchable or to increase the likelihood of it showing up in those results when people are out there looking for answers to their problems?
Exactly.
Jump in here too, though, and talk from the developmental standpoint of a manuscript, right? When we are experts in something and we are surrounded by other experts in that field, it's very easy to slip into industry jargon, right? Because it's second nature. We take it for granted that we have all these words and understandings and terminology that our customer or our audience doesn't, right? So Bridgett and I really tried to look for those things, but even we have blind spots. We can't always see everything that we might have said that's like, oh, that's an industry term. We better define it. This is where having a beta reader around and a developmental editor outside of yourself is important. Okay. So this is for those authors who are looking for that tip maybe on developing their manuscript versus just wanting to know how awesome our book is and that you should go and buy it. So you don't want to skip the the time in the manuscript development where you allow sample readers to take a look at your manuscript. Those are those beta readers, okay? They're the first readers that are going to look at your manuscript while it's still under the knife, if you will. And they're going to be able to pick out and say, I don't understand what this term is, and help you identify where are you not being reflective, to use Juliet's word. So, we had somebody who pointed out the word SEO, or the acronym rather. And it didn't even occur to us that SEO wouldn't be known by our reader. But then we thought, wait a minute, though. We're talking to aspiring authors who are doing this for the very first time. They might not have any understanding of SEO and what that is and why it's important in book terms. So we had to add in another one of those, like, what does that mean, or parenthetical notation or whatever, to make sure that our reader understood that term just in case. So, we talk in the book about not skimping on editorial and what the process looks like and getting in that feedback. This is where we don't want people to just be going to their English major friends or their, family who's really good at finding where commas should go or whatever. You need to get your manuscript in front of sample readers who are people that you are actually trying to target with your book. They're going to be your best eyes on the manuscript because they're the eventual consumer of the content. Let them give you the feedback, all right? And let it be honest, even if that hurts your feelings. Sorry, not sorry. And when it comes to that developmental editor, you need that third-party professional objective perspective on whether or not there are gaps or holes or flow or whatever it is, the big stuff, right? To make sure that the eventual reader, the consumer of your product and good, okay, can get behind what you're saying because you've not missed anything. And, a friends or family person might be really objective. There are a few little, golden, unicorns among them, but, people really shouldn't be skimping on that part of the process.
That's so true. My first book, I think all of the few copies I sold probably were purchased by my grandmother. So, so you can't rely on your friends and family for that. You guys don't know this, but my very first book, my best friend wouldn't read it because she said, I don't want to have to tell you if it's crap. So get people around you who will tell you the truth and not be afraid to blow up a relationship. If it sucks, it sucks. And yes, it may hurt your feelings, and you're going to go one of two ways. You're either going to say, oh, my feelings are hurt and this is garbage and throw it out. Or you're going to say, I am determined to be a better writer and make this a good book. And hopefully it's the second in that, since you took all that time to do it. You guys, I'm excited. When is the book coming out and where can we find it at?
Absolutely. So the book is coming out Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. It will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all of your favorite online retailer sites. The title of it is Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One. And it's available for pre-sale at press49.com. Just go to our catalog there. And, I love the point that Allie and you were just making. It's about that mindset, right? We start the book off about being in a CEO mindset. So you understand if you get feedback that's not glowing or wonderful, as a CEO, you're going to take it and figure out, how do I use this to grow? So it starts with that mindset. And I want people to know this isn't a book for only those people who are serious about making their book a business. Let's say you just want to know, how do I write great content? Well, you can go directly to Allie's chapters. You might just want to know, hey, I've already written my book. How do I make money off of it without selling a single copy? Well, then you just go directly to my chapters. Or you want to get clear on the publishing landscape, or you want to get clear on the editing landscape. For the former, you go to Bridgett's chapters. For the latter, you go to Allie's chapters. So don't feel like it has to be a book that you read only if you are at the beginning stages. You can be anywhere. You could have already published and you're getting ready to write and publish again. Get the book. Maybe you've already published and you're wanting to really take that book to a new level. This book is for you. It's for anybody, anywhere on their authorship journey. Do not buy a book, or do not buy a book. No, buy this book. Do not write a book until you read this one. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you love to shop for your favorite.
Wherever books are sold. You sound just like a commercial for it.
Yes.
more thing here, you guys. I know I did it in the introduction. If you haven't gotten your free subscription of Breakthrough Author Magazine, go get it. This book is a good companion for that, because our whole theme next year is ditch the middleman, strategies to bypass book distributors' fees. So, Bridgett being a well-known speaker, that's one of the ways she sells books and avoids those distributor fees. So I think the two of them together are something that people can read your book and know what to do and work through it, but also what they need to build and some tips on how to build it as well. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Where can we find both of you? And do you have a page set up for them to pre-order that book?
Yes. So press49.com/DNWAB. DNWAB. Press49.com. Do not write a book. That's what that stands for. I see that look on your face, Juliet. DNWAB.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you
you
know what?
for
Let me correct that. Just go to press49.com and click catalog, and you'll see it there. Let's just do it that way. Let's just do it that way. Press49.com and go to the catalog. Forget all of the cryptic DNW. Forget all of that. Just go to press49.com and click the catalog link, and that will take you to the pre-sale page, or you'll find it there. Yeah.
And that's also where you'll find Bridgett, which was the first part of that question. So you can find the book, but you'll also find Bridgett hanging out over on press49.com. So if you want to get in touch with her, that's where you're heading. If you want to get in touch with me, you're heading to the right place, righttime.com. And that's WRITE in the first place and RIGHT in the second. The right place, righttime.com.
Great. Thank you guys so much. And good luck with your new book. I know it's going to be a bestseller. You guys both are right on with everything you do.
Thank you so much, Juliet. Thanks for having us.